I've got this candlestick here. You can find them oftentimes at thrift stores, and you could also use Dollar Tree candlesticks for this craft. I cut the candlestick in half using a miter saw, but you could also use one of these manual miter boxes here from Walmart to do that. I have a large wooden bead and a wooden ball, and I'm going to use these as the snowmen's heads. I do sand a spot for the glue to have a better chance of adhering, to sand off some of that shininess where the glue is going to go on this wooden ball here. And the wooden bead has a flat surface, so the adhesion is going to be better on that one than here with this wooden ball. There's not a lot of surface area that's touching that candlestick there. But I'm going to do the wood glue, and then I will come back later and add some hot glue around that as well. You can see it's such a tiny area. That tape was stuck to itself. I had a hard time getting that off of there. But you can see that it's such a tiny area there that, that is actually glued. So I do go around that with some hot glue. And I painted both of these pieces with ivory chalk paint. I'm going to make some hats for these snowmen, and one of them I will use a toilet paper tube, and then for the other hat I'm going to use one of these little paper cups from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to glue each of these pieces of the hats here onto some very thin cardboard or chipboard that is in my Amazon store, the sheets of that I use. And I did poke a hole. I used a hole punch to make a hole so that my scissors could fit in there. Once I've glued that on there, I'm just going to freehand cutting out the brim, and then I'll cut out the center, underneath the brim there so that it will fit nicely on their heads.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
I do paint both hats with ink by Waverly. At this point, I don't know which I'm going to use for the eyes and the buttons and the mouth, so I just paint some various things, some buttons. I don't end up using those large stickers to the right there, but I do paint them with truffle chalk paint. I have some gold ribbon for their hats, and I'm going to tone that gold down with some Rub 'n Buff. And I cut that trim in half and use that on both of the hats, just hot gluing it on there.
A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side.
I make noses for them out of air dry clay, and I stick them on the end of a pin just so I can work with them and paint them. And I do take another straight pin and just make some little grooves in it like a carrot has. And I paint them both orange.
Was lean and lank. Misfortune was his lot. He got into a drifted bank, and we did get upset.
I use different things for each snowman. One of them I use some buttons for the eyes and some half beads on the other snowman. And I use Aleene's tacky glue for a lot of these items, and some hot glue as well. The good thing about Aleene's is that it sits more flush on the face, if that makes sense. The hot glue can be kind of thick and make the facial features raised, if that makes sense. So I do like using the Aleene's on this.
Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
I take a scrap of fabric and make a scarf for one of them, and then I take a scarf from the Dollar Tree, this maroon colored one, and cut a piece of it off to make a scarf for the other one. These are sort of stylized snowmen. They don't have a traditional, snowman bodies, but I think they're really cute. I did embellish the hats as well, but these are really nice, hefty, sturdy pieces, and I really like the way they turned out.
Now the ground is white, blow it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing this sleighing song. Just get a bobtail gay, 240 for his speed. Then hitch him to an open sleigh, perhaps you take the lead. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Okay, guys, today is a special video. I'm collaborating with all of these lovely ladies. I will have the links to their channels in the description box, as well as the link to the playlist. Now, this playlist is sort of a competition, more of a competition to some than others, Kathy Jo, but it is snowman versus gingerbread men. And after you have watched all the videos in the playlist, you will go over to Rustic Lace DIY's channel, and in her post there will be where you vote, either Team Gingerbread Man or Team Snowman. So this ought to be fun to see which team comes out ahead in the end. And that's it. I'll have all those links in the description box. Let's get back to crafting. For this one, I've got this container of tissues here that I got from Dollar General for $1. You can find them at Dollar Tree as well for $1.25. And I'm going to paint the bottom like 3/4 of this with ivory, and then I paint the top with ink by Waverly. The ivory took a couple of coats, but the ink, it's so pigmented, and it does really good coverage. So I only needed to do one coat of the black. Now, I traced out the top of this. I'm going to be making a top hat for the snowman, and you could definitely, trace out on the chipboard here with the larger circle, and then put the snowman's head in the center of that larger circle and trace that out. I went about this kind of a weird way. My brain takes some strange paths sometimes, but I do have a lot of this plastic laying around that I use often for crafting. So this is the way I went about making a donut shape here that's going to be the brim of the hat. And I just slipped that down on there. I decided that I wanted the hat to be a little bit taller, so I did go past my black line there and extended that and went ahead and painted that black once I put a little bit of glue on there to tack that down. I just cut some eyes out of black poster board, as well as a mouth. I didn't have any orange paper, any orange poster board or cardstock for the nose, so I'm just going to trace it out onto the black and then paint the back of that black poster board with the orange, and then cut that out so that I've got an orange nose. And I just used this extra strength glue stick by Elmer's to glue those face pieces on. This would be a great project to do with kids. It would also be a great project to do In a classroom, you could get a bunch of these, as many as there are students, and cut out different eyes, different noses, and different mouths, and let them sort of assemble their snowmen. And then once they're all done, you can use the tissues in the classroom. I think that would be really fun. You could add lots of different things to this. You could add a scarf to him and use different embellishments for the hats. But I really like how this turned out. I think it's super cute.
Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Bring me flesh and bring me wine, bring me pine logs hither, thou and I shall see him dine, when we bear them thither. Page and mon-
This is just a quick reminder that if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any future videos. I've got these red striped straws from Amazon, and those are in my Amazon shop. And I'm going to use one of these straws, and they're really sturdy, but just to be careful, I'm going to reinforce the straw by putting this jumbo skewer stick from the Dollar Tree inside of there to make it extra sturdy. And I'm going to use some antique wax on that straw to age it up a bit. I've got these two ping pong balls. One of them is out of a pack from Dollar Tree, and one of them is it's probably from Walmart, I'm not sure. But, it's more of a name brand one. The name brand one, you wouldn't be able to dent if you pushed in on it, but the one from Dollar Tree is, easily dentable. And so that actually works well for the hat that I'm going to be putting on one of these. I figured since these are hollow, I might as well take advantage of that and put some bells down inside of them. So these are going to be picks, snowman picks, and then when you shake them, you'll hear the bells inside. I just used the end of my glue gun to melt a hole big enough to put those bells inside of the sturdier ping pong ball. And I also went ahead and took this skewer stick here that I had stained with antique wax. I think I forgot to mention that. And I glued it down in, securing it to the inside top of that ping pong ball. The one from Dollar Tree was easily cut with an X-Acto knife. I wanted to show you there that the Dollar Tree one is very see-through. You can see those bells in there. So I'm going to be painting it with the ivory chalk paint. But the other one, it's thicker, and so you can't see through it as well. So I'm just going to leave it and not paint that one. With the Dollar Tree ball, I meant to dent the top of his head before I glued the stick in there. And so here I am just trying to fix my mistake. I want the top dented in, and then I want to glue the stick inside there to the pushed in, top of the ping pong ball there. And you can see why I'm using one of these miniature snowman hat ornaments that I got from Walmart last year, I believe. And I'm just going to glue that with some hot glue to the top. But you could also use these scarecrow hats. They had these this year at the Dollar Tree. Or you could easily create a top hat for it. You could paint those scarecrow hats and make them look more Christmassy and less scarecrow-y. For the other one, I'm just going to make a cone out of some poster board. I'm going to cut that down to fit his head. And then cover it in some red felt that I believe I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some of this chunky yarn from Walmart as the trim on the hat, but I do cut it down because it's a little too fluffy. And so I trimmed some of that off of there. I hot glue the hat to his head, and then I outline it with that trim. And I just take some of that same chunky yarn and make a ball for the top of the hat. For a collar, and also to hide where that stick is going up inside that ball, I'm just going to put some more of that chunky yarn underneath around his neck.
Here we come a-wassailing among the leaves so green. Oh, here we come a-wandering so fair to be seen.
I'm going to do two different styles of faces. For the red hat one, I'm going to just draw a face and make it look a little more modern. And I'm just going to use my acrylic markers, but I didn't like the orange acrylic marker, the color of it. And so I'm going to go back with some Waverly pumpkin to do the nose.
Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too, and God bless you and send you a
I've got this makeup from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make some rosy cheeks. I bought this makeup years ago thinking I would use it for this purpose. This is the first time using it. I paint some more half beads and gems to use for the eyes and mouth on this other one. And for a collar, I'm going to use one of these garland ties from Hobby Lobby and just cut a little piece there and hot glue that up underneath there. I make another nose out of clay.
God bless the master of his house, likewise the mistress too, and all the little children that round the table go. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too, and God bless you and send.
These tiny tweezers come in so handy when making tiny crafts. Those are in my Amazon shop as well, link in the description box. I got these little beads from Shirley. Thank you, Shirley. And I'm going to add one. This is totally optional, but I'm going to add one to the end of each of these snowman picks. These are meant to go down into floral arrangements, like winter floral arrangements or Christmas floral arrangements. But there are several things you could do with these. I've got this cloche from the Dollar Tree and this wooden candlestick, and I'm going to glue them together. And then I'm painting the whole thing with truffle chalk paint. I have this larger wooden bead and a smaller one. I'm going to glue those together to make a tiny snowman. I have this little finial here, or dowel cap. You can get them from any craft store, and I'm going to paint it with the truffle as well. And I painted my little snowman ivory as well as a canning lid. That's a regular size canning lid. And I'm going over the finial and the candlestick with gold leaf rub and buff.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh.
I glued the finial to the top of the dome, the cloche, with some E6000.
We go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright.
While I was working with the snowman, he kept falling over, and so just so he would be easier to work with, I glued a little piece of cardboard underneath him. I took a round of thin cardboard, and I'm going to take a piece of a glue stick, and I'm going to make a little hat for this guy.
What fun it is to ride and
I do trace around the top of the hat, and then I poke a few holes using my hole punch there, so that once I put it down on his head, I can melt that hot glue up in there, and so it'll set nice and flush and set down on his head a little bit. For his nose, that's just going to be the very tip of a toothpick dipped in some pumpkin chalk paint.
A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side.
I have these little bottle brush trees from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut down their bases so they're not so big.
Was lean and lank, misfortune was his lot. He got in.
And now to hot glue everything down, I have this tiny little wooden bird. I got that from Shirley as well. And I'm going to put that little bird on a rock next to the snowman, looking up at the snowman. And I just hot glue everything down to this canning lid.
To a drifted bank, and we did get upsot. Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
And I have this snow mixture that I mixed up. It's just baking soda, Mod Podge, and a little bit of paint. I mixed this up a couple of videos ago, and it really kept well. I thought there was too much air in that jar, and I thought it would dry out because it's so little of the mixture, but it didn't. It still worked fine, and so I'm really liking it. It's similar to Snowtex, and it's much more cost effective.
Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Now the ground is white, blow it while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing this sleighing song. Just get a bobtail gay, 240 for his speed, then hitch him to.
Don't forget to go check out that playlist. The link is in the description box, as well as the links to everyone's channels. And don't forget to go over to Brenda's channel under her posts to cast your vote on which team won this year's Snowmen versus Gingerbread Men challenge. I think I can share the link to that post as well where you vote, so I will do that as well if I can. You won't be able to vote from your TV. You'll have to get on your phone, tablet, or computer to do that. And if you're not subscribed to all these ladies' channels, you are really missing out. Kathy Jo is my favorite YouTuber. I know you're not supposed to pick favorites, but I just did. All these ladies are very talented crafters, and you'll want to subscribe to them if you haven't already. But that's it for this one. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.
An open sleigh, crack, you take the lead. Jingle bell, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse